Namaste and welcome. I'm Pratim Ranjan Bose and you are watching my podcast Perspective. In this episode, I will discuss digitization or lack of it in public life. First, transformation of Indian economy has been a declared agenda of the Narendra Modi government and they achieved a lot in that direction. Since 2014, India's transport logistics has undergone a dramatic overhaul. The change is most visible in highways and civil aviation. A lot of effort has also gone in improving the waterways. The gigantic rail network has completed a lot of work in the back end, like track strengthening, electrification, etc. Speed of goods traffic improved. The newly launched Vande Bharat trains are now changing the face of passenger travel. I'm picking my examples from whatever is visible in public life. Dramatic changes took place in the areas of energy, sanitation, rural development, public health, housing, urban mobility, etc. You do not have to trust the government data. The tall overhead tanks dotting the countryside are testimony that in barely 5 years, access to tap water has increased from less than 20% in 2019 to 80% as of now. Visit India's villages and you will know open defecation has gone, except for behavioral reasons. 99.9% households are connected to the electricity grid and 95% people have access to Pakka Makan. A huge low-cost public healthcare sector grew up to serve government-ensured cashless hospitalization to the poor. In barely 10 years, India wiped out the huge backlog in physical and social infrastructure. There are some problems like the poor doctor-patient ratio, but the gap will reduce dramatically in next 5 years as the number of medical colleges increased by more than double since 2014. It takes 7 years to produce a doctor, so the impact will take its own time. Digital infra creation has been a major focus area of the government. Nicknamed Digital India, the biggest achievement of this initiative is the United Payment Interface or UPI. UPI rides on the simple principles of seeding bank accounts and mobile phones with unique identity numbers allotted to Indians. Once linked, people can transact on cashless mode from their mobile phones without getting into the complexity of net banking. The UPI ID directly interacts with the bank account. UPI was launched in 2016 on the back of universal access to banking and rising smartphone sales. Over the last 8 years, its popularity increased exponentially. The wider benefits of UPI are well known. It is the prime driver behind booming e-commerce sales and huge capacity building in retail logistics. The brick and mortar retailing was geography specific. Now, anyone and everyone across the country have equal access to goods and services. In social terms, UPI is a much bigger success than anticipated. In the past, digital transactions were limited to the credit card holding well-to-do population. Now, even the smallest shop in the village accepts UPI payment. I travel a lot and I have noticed that the relatively poor have adopted this technology more than the rich. In cities, at least 70% sales of small grocers and pan cigarette shops come from UPI. In villages, the ratio is 30 to 40%. People buy a rupees 2 worth of cigarette or matchbox through UPI because it saves them from the trouble of getting small changes. The seller is also happy to deal with less cash as it reduces the chances of snatching and extortion. Having said that, India is yet to harness the full and final benefits of UPI. First, in every city, you will find many big retailers, mostly in the areas of food and apparels. who deny cashless payments. The benefits of cash are well known. It helps the rich to evade tax. It is not known why the tax authorities do not catch hold of the large retailers who fail to submit the detailed revenue statement. Corruption can be the only answer. Second, banks do not lend to small businesses due to lack of proof on income and assets. This leaves them to the mercy of microfinance institutions who charge 24 to 28% interest. To service this interest rate, the business must earn a gross margin of at least 50%. It is common sense that no small business can operate at that margin. A large section of population, therefore, live in a de facto credit card economy, where they borrow from one MFI to pay another or to invest in extremely risky affairs. The growing popularity of UPI among smallest of small businesses can solve this problem from the root. The pan or golgappa seller is now having a revenue statement. Ideally, this should help him or her access easy bank credits, but that's not happening. So far as I inquired, banks are offering them personal loans at an average of 20%, while the rich businesses are raising finance at 6%. How will entrepreneurship grow? It is time to ask why the Reserve Bank of India will not set a ceiling rate of, say, 15% for granting small loans to merchants who are taking payments in UPI. It is also time to ask why the MFIs have to operate on as large a spread as 10%, and why banks are taking the easy route to lend MFIs and earn profits. It is time to ask why small businesses with transparent revenue statement will not get access to cheap credit. The suboptimal achievements of digital India is not limited to UPI and access to credit. Almost all government sites are jungles. They are difficult to operate. Majority of these sites are creation of the National Informatics Center under the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Provident Fund is a social security for the 74 million formally employed. Every employee is forced to save a part of his salary with the Employees Provident Fund Organization, or EPFO. The accumulated sum is offered to him on superannuation or at the end of formal employment or in emergencies. This is where digital services were much needed, but prehistoric EPFO website belies that hope. It is difficult to operate. It hangs. On many days and occasions, it simply denies access. The worst part of the story is the EPFO barely wants people to resolve issues on digital interface. Try raising a refund and you will be served with a formatted denial notice that barely explains why the claim is denied. I have to wait for nearly a year to get my Provident Fund refund after quitting job. I worked in multiple locations in the country. EPFO flagged issues with filings by my past employers in faraway locations. It required a lot of human intervention to get the problem solved. If you think this is my personal problem, then you are wrong. Do a bit of market scanning and you will get similar reports of harassment from almost anyone and everyone. It is told that EPFO expects human interventions for understandable benefits. On the brighter side, it is now easy to get the annual life certificate using an app. Blink the eye and you are alive. Pensioners are saved from the annual ordeal to present themselves to the bank manager to prove that they are alive. I can give many more examples. In India, an air traveler undergoes 5 layers of manual checks by the security personnel from the entry gate till boarding the plane. A face reading app called DigiJatra, which is seeded with unique identity, is now helping air passengers to avoid 2 rounds of questioning. If implemented in full, the app can save up to 4 rounds of manual checking. But the rollout of the technology beyond security check is delayed. Frustratingly enough, the access to DigiYatra facilities is denied to passengers in transit. Transit passengers suffer from time pressure to catch connecting flights. I recently faced the ordeal at Vizag Airport. In a tweeted reply, DigiYatra said they would launch the service for transit passengers at a later date. The question is, why? DigiYatra was launched by the Airport Authority in December 2022. It is surprising that the Government of India couldn't launch full service of DigiYatra over the last 2 years in at least 10 busiest airports and cut back on the wage costs of deploying men and women to check boarding passes. In the absence of logical answers, one can assume that there is a systematic resistance to adopt technology and improve efficiency. Thank you for watching Perspective. If you like this episode, please share. फिर मिलेंगे.